Let us take up a study of the working of Pitt's India Act 1784. An analysis. In this section, a brief survey is done on the working of the India Act in operation on the ground. The India Act clearly had two territorial sections of the company in view while laying down the rules. There was a company in London working from Leadenhall Street. It was organized under the law of Britain. It consisted of the owners who had organized themselves as a court of proprietors. The court of proprietors had entrusted the day-to-day management to 24 directors. All these arrangements had created an office and administrative setup. The second aspect of this commercial office was related to conduct of trade in India. For that, it established another administrative setup on Indian territory. The Parliament enacted the India Act to regulate the activities of both sections. The statute established a board of control to accomplish it. The Act aimed at bringing the control of the commercial corporation under the supervision and direction of the state. It laid down the rules by which the relations between the Parliament and the commercial corporation, the company, were defined. When this statute came into force, it became a story surveyed now. 1. The India Act established a compromise. The Parliament of Britain had identified three aspects related to the company that were covered in the legislation of the India Act. Those were the commercial, political and administrative aspects of the company. The management of the commercial business was left in undisputed charge of the directors of the company. The company had developed a substantial angle of political nature while pursuing their commercial interests. The Parliament formed a board of control in the Act to subject those political activities of the company to its control and direction. In a way, it created two offices over the working of the company, which was a commercial corporation. One office was a part of the British Parliament, and the other was under the control of the owner of the commercial corporation. It had created a dual system of two governments in London to run the operation of a commercial corporation. Both governments represented two separate authorities, one was the Crown, and the other was a company owned by commoners. The dual government functioned by adjusting the activities of the East India Company to the policies of the Crown. In a way, the Pitt's India Act created a compromise. 2. Unequal compromise. The Board of Control established national control on the company. The Pitt's India Act established a compromise, but it was a highly unequal compromise. There were the Board of Control and the Court of Directors. Both were partners in the same activity. They conducted the role of dealers in the activities in India. However, the Board of Control turned into a stronger partner. The Board of Control received more comprehensive powers and influence than the Court of Directors. The Board of Control could superintend the political activities of the company, change the orders issued by the Court of Directors, and recall any office holder appointed by the directors for the company's administration in India. All these powers had unlimited potential, which was unleashed over the next 74 years. The Board of Control became a supreme power over the political affairs of the company. It established national control over a private commercial corporation. 3. Previous communication played in favor of the Board of Control. The India Act authorized the Board of Control that it could propose to the Court of Directors any order which had to be complied with within 14 days. The procedure adopted to obtain concurrence and execution involved a set pattern that gave the first and the last word to the President of the Board. The procedure involved a verbal discussion between the Chairman of the Court of Directors and the President of the Board of Control over a proposal. The directors prepared the draft and placed it before the President of the Board. The Board could approve or ask the directors to modify it and return it for the next approval. During this course of exchange of the draft of the proposal to be sent to India, the President and his Board could impress upon the directors to incorporate their decision. In this manner, the Board had unlimited power of correction and ultimate power over the conduct of the company in affairs of political matters. The Pitt's India Act backed their authority. If the Court of Directors refuses to oblige the Board, then the Board could exercise its power to frame the order on its own and direct the company to transmit it to India. Even then, if the company showed unwillingness to cooperate, the Board could apply to the Court of King's Bench for a writ of mandamus. The members of the Board were appointees of the King and they could avail that power. 4. Case of Mr. Holland. One incident which took place in 1784 itself can be cited to explain the working of the unequal compromise. Henry Dundas was the President of the Board of Control in 1784. The Court of Directors appointed Mr. Holland as Governor of Fort St. George. However, Henry Dundas did not approve the selection of Mr. Holland and proposed another name in his place. The Court of Directors protested against it and called it an undue interference of the Board. Henry Dundas directly informed Mr. Holland that if he proceeded to India to take over the post, then the Board of Control would exercise its right to recall him. Ultimately, the Court of Directors was coerced to yield to the Board of Control and accept their nominee for the appointment. Similar kinds of incidents occurred in future also. 5. Control over civil and military government was the ultimate power. The Board of Control was empowered by the Parliamentary Act to control the civil and military activities of the Indian government established by the administration of the company. The Board of Control had a stronger position in those areas as compared to the Court of Directors. The Governor-Generals were appointed by the Court of Directors, but every appointee understood that the center of authority rested with the Board of Control in civil and military matters. the Governor-Generals continued to adopt an aggressive policy under the support of the Board of Control through their secret support and approval in total defiance of the wishes and directions of the Court of Directors. The Board of Control wielded greater power and influence on a legal basis, and this aspect was emphatically stated by a nationalist historian, R.C. Majumdar, while evaluating the policy of territorial expansion by Lord Dalhousie. 6. Court of Directors was not a figurative authority. The above arguments gathered above may give impressions that Board of Control was the actual authority and the Court of Directors was reduced to a position of non-entity. However, it was not a reality. The Court of Directors was also stronger in administration and commercial dealings. 7. Main channel of communication. The Court of Directors was the main communication channel between the Board of Control and the Governor-General in India. All the dispatches from India were addressed to the Court of Directors or its secret committee. 8. The Board of Control gave importance to the Court of Directors. It was a more practical and sensible requirement for the Board of Control to give importance to the views and opinions of the members of the Court of Directors. The major activity and business of the company passed through their hand. The Court of Directors had direct experience of the matters dealing with India. 9. Records of company imparted influence to Court of Directors. All the correspondences passed through the Court of Directors. All the correspondence received from India was collected under the supervision of the administration of the Court of Directors. The documents were kept in the custody of the company at India House on Leadenhall Street. Therefore, for any fact-based decisions, the archive was the company. It influenced the company to initiate the proposal on the basis of the documents. 10. The right to initiate the proposals was with the Court of Directors. The right to initiate the proposal was with the company. The India Act ruled that the proposal should get approved by the Board of Control. In practice, the right to initiate the proposal imparted the Court of Directors an influence on company administration in India. The company had a permanent staff of civil servants. The company had employees who had direct experience in Indian affairs. The Board of Control depended upon the advice and experiences of the civil servants of the company. It imparted a great influence and strength to the company in practical matters related to government administration in India. 11. The right to make appointments. All the appointments, from a lower post to the highest rank, the medical officers and other related personnel for civil and military administration were issued and made by the Court of Directors. The Court of Directors had the power to recall the people posted in India. Similar power was entrusted to the Board of Control. The Court of Directors had exercised its power in the case of Ellenborough when the Board of Control stood in his favor. Therefore, the Court of Directors was not all that ineffective body. However, it was neither practical nor advisable or feasible for both governments to continue to create the situation of conflict or demonstrate their superiority. In short, the Court of Directors continued to play a decisive role till the dissolution of the company. Conclusion. In conclusion, and based on the history of the working of the arrangements established under Pitt's India Act, it cannot be said that the Court of Directors was less influential. If the Board of Control had emerged as the final authority, the question arises, why did the company continue to exist? Why did the Court of Proprietors not initiate the dissolution of the company? The reality was that the company had obtained many privileges and profitable opportunities from the trade with India. The proprietors had maintained their efforts in maintaining the company for the next 74 years. No doubt, from 1784 onwards, the Board of Control continued to increase its authority in the administration of India. The Board of Control had decided the rules of the charters which were renewed after every 20 years. In practical terms, their mutual relations had worked as a system of checks and balances. The working model, which had developed under the India Act 1784, had found reflection in the Constitution of India when it was framed later.